Alright, so we are on page XIII. I just want to read to you what the Rambam himself wrote about his son, Rabbi Avram ben Rambam. That way we don't think, maybe he was controversial, maybe he wasn't the Rambam's real son, whatever questions. Just, people, they like to say things. So, this book was written in Arabic and only recently was it translated into Hebrew. And this is not the full book. This is what we have left from the original book of Rabbi Avram ben Rambam. So the Rambam says, when I consider the current state of the world, only two things console me. It's interesting, the Rambam seems to be at this point very sad with the world, very let down by the world. So only two things make me happy, and that is my involvement with wisdom, with Chokhmah, Torah, the world, and the fact that my son Avram has been blessed by Hashem with the grace and the gifts of the one whose name he bears, Avraham Avinu. So the Rambam himself is saying that my son is the only thing that makes me happy, and he's like Avraham Avinu. May God, in whose name and promise Avraham Avinu trusted, sustain, preserve, and lengthen my son's life and years. He is humble and unassuming, one among others, in addition to all his other fine qualities. So the Rambam views him, he's a young kid boy here, as a very up-and-coming Talmid Chacham. His mind grasps even the subtlest concepts. And he has a fine disposition. Without a doubt, he will be prominent among the great men of the generation with Hashem's help. I entreat Hashem to watch over him and maintain his kindnesses to him. What does the Rambam feel about his son?
He really likes him.
Very high. He likes him a lot. Very proud of him. And essentially his son did take over. His son became known as Rabbi Avraham HaNagid. HaNagid was what the Rambam was. The Rambam was technically, it was the prince of the Jews of Egypt. Like we had when we went to exile. We always had Nasi, a prince, when we were in Israel, like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. We had, outside of Israel, in Bavel, in Babylon, we always had, you may remember in the Talmud, Reish Galuta, the head of the exile, the exilarch, or something like that. I don't know how you pronounce that name. He was like the head of the Jewish government outside of Israel. And then in certain countries, like in Egypt, you had a Nagid. It was like the mayor, the governor of the Jewish people, but appointed by the Jews. And so he took over for his father at the age of 18. He became the head Dayan of Egypt. He also became a doctor, the advisor doctor to the king at 18, so he studied with his father. And his father really shaped him to become the next leader. And the last thing we know about Rabbi Avram ben Rambam is that he was responsible for bringing back, I told you on Shabbat, that in Egypt there were two streets, main streets, the Rehova Yehudim, the Jewish street, and Rehova Karaim, the Karaite street. And they were the same community, but two splits. And Rabbi Avraham was able to bring back, in his chokhmah and his wisdom, he brought back many, many, many Karaites from Karaitism to Judaism. So let's start at the beginning of the book. The beginning of the book. Hamaspik L'Ovdei Hashem. Hamaspik literally means this is enough for the servant of God, or this is what will give to you to be a servant of God.
Different book?
Just for the first few minutes of the class. So, let's start Perek Aleph, the first chapter. The Rabbeinu Avraham's words, they're written by a Rishon. They're older than the Shulchan Aruch. They're older than... These are our books that every word here comes to mean something. Now, even though this is a translation from Arabic, so this is not exactly the words used, we have to pay attention. Everything that he says means something. So the name of the first chapter, Derech HaTorah Ha'en Sofit. The endless way of the Torah. And Rabbeinu Avram is going to put down his first goal for today. Derech HaTorah, what is the way of the Torah? When he says derech, he's referring to like a path that you would take, a road you would follow. Not the way the Torah works. Rather, I want to go on which derech do I want to go? Do I take the 805? Do I take the 5? Do I take the... Where am I going and which roads do I have to get there? So if you're driving from here to LA, you have a few options of how to get there. You have to know which derech am I going to take and what are the things that I have to do to be on that road. Yeah. You could fly there too. Derech HaTorah, the way of the Torah, hamitmashechet veholechet bli gvul, which goes endlessly and forever without any boundaries, lahashlamat matorot HaTorah, in fulfillment of the goals of the Torah. Meaning to keep Torah, there are two ways. Nechleket l'shtei derechim are split up into two roads. Derech ha'am, the way of the people, the normal people, v'derech hayachid, and the individual road. The translator here chooses to call it the common road and the intimate road for the servants of Hashem.
Intimate?
Intimate, like very close to Hashem. Now here, we find exactly what we've been talking about all this time. See, in halakha, you always have, what is okay to do? And people say, well, why not? Why do I have to do it? Just because it's okay doesn't mean I have to do it. And here is a flawed understanding of what it means with the common road and the special road. The common road, everyone has to do. If a person reaches a certain level, oh, I'm already on a special road. That's a whole different person, it's a whole different department, it's a whole different person. But there are rules for how you go onto the special road. Not everyone can choose to take the special road. And not at all points in our life can we be on the special road, and I'll explain. Derech ha'am, what is the way of the common way? Hi kiyum ha-mitzvot ha-meforashot. It's fulfilling all the mitzvot that are explicitly written in the Torah. Do not steal. Do not kill. Keep kosher. Keep Shabbat. Wear tefillin, put on tzitzit. Asiyat mitzvot aseh, performing the mitzvot, the active mitzvot. I don't like positive and negative mitzvot. What's a negative mitzvah? It's like a bad thing.
Don't do this, don't be steal.
Right, but when you say something is negative, normally means it's bad.
Don't do bad.
So I prefer active mitzvot and passive mitzvot.
You don't do anything after that.
Asiyat mitzvot aseh, performing the active mitzvot. Vihimaneut, and staying away, refraining milot aseh, from the things which you're not supposed to do. Alidei kol echad miYisrael, by every Jew, kafi hamutar alav, like it's commanded on him. Meaning, even from the common road, there are certain mitzvot that apply to me, certain mitzvot that apply to you, certain mitzvot that apply to other people. For example, he's going to tell us. Mitzvat milah, brit milah, sukkah, living in the sukkah, eating, drinking, sleeping. Velulav, what is lulav?
It says sleeping too?
Sleep, it doesn't, I'm saying. That's what the Torah says.
Like wave this, the lulav.
Taking the lulav in its rog and L'mashal, for example, these mitzvot, chiyuvan al hazcharim, they're only commanded to men. Do ladies have to sleep in the sukkah?
No.
Do ladies have to take a lulav in the Torah?
No.
Do ladies have to do a brit milah?
No.
No, right? These are all mitzvot that are, by the way, it's an interesting question.
They do it in Africa.
Is a lady obligated, you want to hear a brisker Torah? Brisk, I told him once it's a way to learn Gemara. The question they have is a lady obligated in Brit Milah, and just because she can't physically have a Brit Milah, so she's exempt from it?
They do that in
Or,
Africa.
no, that's not a Brit Milah, that's just crazy. Meaning, a Brit Milah is only on a man's body part. And therefore, is it that a lady is obligated, like every Jew in Brit Milah, but because she doesn't have that part, so she's not obligated in it? She's exempt from it? Or is it that Bichlal, she never got the mitzvah of Brit Milah? Now why would I ask such a crazy question?
Because is she obligated to circumcise the children?
Or let's say better than obligated. More than obligated, can a lady do a Brit?
On her son.
Yeah, because see, if she's not obligated in the mitzvah of Brit, then can she perform a Brit?
Yeah.
No, if she's not obligated.
Support
But
Rabbi.
Moses,
Wait, I'm gonna get here. If we said about Birkat Hamazon, right? If a lady is obligated in Birkat Hamazon like a man, then she can say Birkat Hamazon for me. But if she's not obligated, only in a rabbinic level, like a young person, so then she can't because it's a different level of obligation. If a lady is obligated to do a Brit Milah, but she just physically can't do it, then she would be allowed to do a Brit Milah for a man, like her son. If it is that she's not at all commanded in Brit Milah, then she can't do it for a man. This is what they ask in the Chumash.
man, boy.
How did Tzipora do a Brit Milah for Moshe Rabbeinu?
Yes, it
She got a sharp stone and did it.
For
Okay.
the kids of Moshe Rabbeinu.
That you're talking about.
How did she do it?
What she did, because Abraham wasn't.
No,
I mean, Moshe.
Moshe. Yeah, but meaning if she's not obligated and she did it, so that means that that Brit is not kosher. You have to do it again anyway. You have to take some blood out or something. So the Briskers want to say that really a lady is obligated in Brit Milah, just physically she can't have one. And that's why she was able to perform a Brit. But this question has halachic boundaries to it. Clearly, Rabbeinu Avraham ben Aramim says, listen, with all your nice chats, the lady is not obligated in Brit Milah, only men are obligated in Brit Milah. Okay? Mitzvot kehuna, what about all the mitzvot that have to do with the Kohen? Am I obligated in them?
No,
No, why?
because you're not a
I'm not a
Kohen.
Kohen, very good.
But you're a Levy, so that's good.
Family. Mitzvot kehuna chiyuvam al kohanim v'lo al Shaar Yisrael. The mitzvot of the Kohen are an obligation on the Kohanim, but not on everybody else. ומצוות מקדש וקדשיו אינן יכולות להתקיים בזמן הגלות. And in exile, all the mitzvot that have to do with the Beit HaMikdash are not applicable while we are in exile. So you find that there are even mitzvot in the common arena of mitzvot that you and I are not obligated in, either because someone's a lady, or it's only applicable to ladies, or because it's only applicable to Kohanim, or it's only applicable in the Beit HaMikdash. For example, there's another mitzvah. L'mashal ma'amaro yitaleh. Hashem's statement, but that's not what it means. Ma'amaro is Hashem's speech. Yitaleh is like the Blessed One's say. Rabbeinu Avraham refers to Hashem as like someone that he's in absolute love and awe with. Like he's saying, Hashem, blessed be He, told us. Not just like what Hashem says. Say what? Hashem what? Hashem, my favorite Hashem. He said that. Hashem says, Lo tisa pnei dal, v'lo tehedar pnei gadol. You cannot favor in judgment. Comes in front of you two people in court, and you're the judge. You cannot favor the greater one over the smaller one, or the wealthier one over the poorer one. And that's, by the way, a normal thing. You look, for example, in our legal system today. I call it a legal system because it's not a justice system, it's a legal system. You have people who are wealthy Hollywood actors, and they perform the same crime as some guy from some, other neighborhood. And this one will get out of his sentence.
East side of LA.
Right, east side of LA. And this one will serve 5 years' time, or 6 years, I don't know how many years. Why?
Steal a little, they throw you in jail. Steal a lot, they make you king.
Very good. Here, steal a little, they throw you in jail. Steal a lot, they make you king. But essentially, you find that there are many judges that they favor, or even systems, they favor those who are wealthy, they favor those who are more affluent or are more powerful. This mitzvah, even though on an ethical level it applies to everybody. Like, when you see people, you shouldn't like rich people more than you like poor people. But who does this mitzvah really apply to?
Poor people. Because
No, who's obligated in this mitzvah?
the judge.
The judge, very good. So, אינו חל על הציבור, אלא על הדיינים בלבד. This mitzvah is not applicable to the community. You don't have to keep this mitzvah. You're not. How often do you judge people? As a judge, not as a person. Rather, this mitzvah applies only to a judge. You can eat at the table, by the way. Don't be embarrassed. Yeah. I mean, if it's my aunt's food, I'm sure people will get jealous. But you're welcome to sit with us.
No problem.
Dinner to go.
No.
Yeah. You brought extra plates, right?
Let's go down, let's go. Like, I'm fine, thanks.
So Rabbeinu Avraham is telling us that even among the mitzvot that are common mitzvot, a person has to know not all of them apply to me. Some of them apply just to other people. Some of them apply to rabbis, some apply to judges, some apply to kohanim, some apply to leviim, some apply to women, some apply to men, some apply to children. Every mitzvah has its own group. And it's a very important thing to know. When you learn Torah, the origin of this mitzvah, it's from the Torah or it's from the rabbis. If it's from the Torah, who does it apply to? If it's from the rabbis, who does it apply to? In which situations would we be lenient about it? In which situation would we be strict about it? And then you suddenly realize that not all the mitzvot were created equally. Some mitzvot are more important than other mitzvot. Some prohibitions are more important than other prohibitions. Some things are the foundation of morality of Judaism. Some of them are extras that we don't exactly understand logically the reasoning behind them. And the Rabbeinu Avraham is setting up the framework to tell us that there are two paths. There's the path that everyone has to keep, and the path that only the tzaddikim have to walk on. And whenever we're going to make a mistake, you're going to see that the Jewish world becomes rotten. It's when simple people try to do what tzaddikim are supposed to be doing, which we spoke about. Or when tzaddikim are expected to be on a certain level, but they're living a very basic Torah lifestyle, which is not intimate with Hashem. Meaning, from him we expected more. From Moshe Rabbeinu, a small thing that he did, it was a bigger deal, because he was supposed to already be on a different path. But Judaism is not a democracy. And a lot of times when we read this book, you're going to hear these words. Not every common person, and it's not a bad thing to be common. All of us are working hard. Kohanim are common. Dayanim are common. Not every common person is supposed to jump onto the special path. For Hashem, we have to know our place and to understand what it is that we have to do. And from here, perhaps you understand the philosophy that sure you can be strict about something, but you haven't finished the whole Torah yet. You haven't finished your common path before you can start taking the special path. Oh, but why can't I just be strict on this thing and lenient on... You can't. Either you're on the special path or you're on the common path. You can't walk with one leg on the 5 and one leg on the 805 and expect it. You can't. You just can't do it. There are two different roads. Neither of them are better or worse, but they're going to take you different places, and you have to be a different kind of person. It depends where you're going, depends where you come from. That one is going to be more convenient for you. Yes, is something?
I was just thinking about this is what we were discussing this morning, where there's also derachim that require you to do the high road, so to speak, these days.
Today?
A lot of you go, if you're a balei tshuva, you often get ways, and then a lot of people have stumbled on that road because it's just too much for them.
Right. Zev is bringing up a good point. Today you have many denominations in Judaism. Many denominations that were created by pious people, for pious people. By the way, if you're not pious, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that road might have not been cut out for me. I'll give you an example. I can't give this example. Not politics, or just younger people around the table. Imagine there are some communities in which a lady shaves her head once she gets married. Right? And for them, this is a very pious road to take. Now it could be, by the way, it could be that for that group, that was what's considered for them very pious. And I'm not, my group, by the way, doesn't condone such behavior. But imagine such a thing. But if there was a young lady she's either new to Judaism or she's been her whole life not exactly fitting in this box, and she likes the way she looks, then all of a sudden you throw her to this place of, oh, you got to shave your head or else you're not even observant. But that road wasn't meant for everyone. Even if you would tell me that road is correct, that person would agree that many, many, many of our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers never followed that road. And therefore there has to be room for them. But the moment we choose that this road is a one-size-fits-all, but it's really not. It's for people who are in a different place or a different mindset or a different level, it becomes a problem. Now, when I was in yeshiva, there were guys who, we don't want to sleep, like the Vilna Gaon. He only slept 2 hours a day in half-an-hour increments. Now, my friend, you're not the Vilna Gaon. You're going to kill yourself like that.
Yeah.
The Chavetz Chaim used to sleep at least 8 hours a night. And he was a big tzaddik, and that was no small thing. It's the amount of you sleep doesn't make you holy. I remember Rabbi telling me when I was in yeshiva, I don't know how it is by you, would come at midnight and turn off the electricity in the building, turn off the lights in the Beit Midrash. Oh, we want to learn more. We would say, if you really want to learn, so come back at 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't pretend like you're going to stay up late, you're going to come late to davening. So you think now that you're being so religious, but tomorrow you're 30 seconds late to tefillah. That's already, you lost out because you learned so much. A person has to be healthy. A person has to know who they are. There was a great rabbi in Israel. I'm not going to mention his name, a big tzaddik. His child became very, very lightly observant, and his grandkids are already totally non-observant. And on the radio, they once interviewed his son. If I mention his name, you would know. Everyone here has heard of him. They asked his son, it was a big professor, they said, well, how is it that you and your kids ended up in a totally different place than your father? And he said, I didn't know my father. I saw him a few times in my life. And you ask yourself, so this father, I'll tell you what about, he used to learn almost 24 hours a day. He barely slept, he had a bed in the Beit Midrash, and Rav Peretz used to actually, Rav Peretz once learned by him. Rav Peretz told us in the yeshiva that if you try to be like him, you're going to lose your chelik in Olam Haba. Because whatever calculations he had with Hashem about his wife and his children were his calculations with Hashem. But it's not a road for you to imitate just because a great person did it. It goes against basic tenets of our understanding of Judaism. And the person has to know, so big tzaddikim did something. So they could have either made a mistake, or I'm not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You can imagine that. Imagine you're not that Rizal. Could you believe it? Someone once told the Ben Ish Chai that there was a rabbi in the Talmud that used to wait 24 hours between meat and milk. So the Ben Ish Chai told him, you're not allowed to do that. That Rizal used to wait a day, meaning if he ate meat today, on Monday he wouldn't eat it he would wait till Tuesday to eat meat. But not 24 hours. That if you want to be strict, you can be as strict as that Rizal. But you can't be stricter than that Rizal. Who are you? First to know their place. I'm not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I'm not the Vilna Gaon. I'm not the Baal Shem Tov. And that shouldn't offend you when someone tells you you're not the Baal Shem Tov. It shouldn't offend you. If you truly respect the Baal Shem Tov, you'd realize that we're not him. The person has to know myself, to know my family, to know my generation. And with a story, this is Bichlal about Chumrot in general. There's a big argument among the Sephardic rabbis. The Shulchan Aruch says two different places when Shabbat ends. Once he says that Shabbat ends at the normal time, when 3 stars come out. And in one place he says that Shabbat ends at Rabbeinu Tam time, which is 72 minutes afterwards. In Shabbat this week ended at 8:45. According to Rabbeinu Tam, Shabbat ended somewhere between 9:15 and 9:40. Right? In yeshiva they do that, in many yeshivot. Not by my yeshiva in Israel, but in Baltimore we do. So the question among the Sfaradim, well, do we follow the Shulchan Aruch or not? So some said, well, he didn't mean it, some said he meant it, but we don't follow it. Everyone has their own answer. And among the Sephardic rabbis, there was a very big argument. For many years we've been fighting about this. Moroccans, Yemenites, Algerians, Tunisians, I could tell you, never did this. We never had it. But there were some Sfaradim who did. Rabbi Ezra Atiyah, Rabbi Chacham Ovadiah's. Who's Rabbi Ezra Atiyah? He was the rabbi of Chacham Ovadiah. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Prat Yosef. And he used to keep Rabbeinu Tam time. Every Motzei Shabbat he waited extra. And when he passed away, one of his students said it at the Shiva house. Rabbi, he kept Rabbeinu Tam time every Motzei Shabbat. And his wife got an argument with him. No, she never did. I never saw him keep Rabbeinu Tam. So one of his chavrutot said that was Rabbi Ezra Atiyah. See, he used to keep Rabbeinu Tam time, but his wife never knew about it. He never made it a burden on her that because he felt that he wanted to do something, that now she has to go along with it also. I once heard, and I cannot tell you if it's true, but my wife's family is married into the family of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. You've met some of the kids who are here in our family are grandkids of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. And Rav Moshe Feinstein kept Chalav Yisrael. Even though he was the one who gave the heter not to keep it. But his wife didn't keep Chalav Yisrael. And Rav Moshe always said, my wife doesn't have to keep it. Even Rabbi David Feinstein, the one who was on my chuppah, his wife also doesn't keep Chalav Yisrael. I don't know. See, there's certain things...
No, because the reason I ask is because, maybe I'm wrong, but what I've learned about the minhag is that your whole house is affected if you're not Chalaf Yisrael in terms of
Nobody who respects themselves
kosher
in
has,
halakha. You're right. There are such people who believe that, but no self-respecting person who knows how to read halakha, whatever says such a thing. So, what I'm trying to show you is the
What's the
chumrot.
belief system that like Halevy Israel is somehow like if you use it in a pot, like you treat up the pot, that kind of thing. Is that is that how far people go?
Some people believe that.
Yeah.
99% of Jews don't. No self-respecting Talmid Chacham could say such a thing. At the very best, you wouldn't use it when the pot was dirty, but for the pot to make something else, it's I'm being respectful. But you find that when people went on that special path, they didn't make it a burden on the people around them. Rabbi Shlomo Aviner was once asked by somebody, I want to keep the special path when it comes to certain halachot in my home. And he said, these are halachot that you cannot be strict on them unless your wife decides that she wants to do it also. I said, but what about me? What about my path of holiness, of spirituality? And Rabbi Aviner said, it's not all about you anymore. They said, you have to know that your path of holiness is how to not do those things and to be holy with your wife. Not to be holy except from her, or aside from her, or on a different path from her. That is true holiness. This is true tzadkut. And when we start to realize what is the common, what is the higher road, we'll see that not necessarily do you have to be on the higher road to be a tzaddik.